Welcome to the Creatorpreneurs podcast, where we delve into how creatorpreneurs monetize their knowledge and how you can become one too. I'm Rico Lazo, joining the studio by my twin brother, Antonio. How's it going, Antonio?
Hey Rico, it's great to be back in the studio. There's nothing like it. Lights, camera, action, in I'll just play. And the key word today is communication. We've aptly titled our episode, The Communication Evolution, Thriving in the AI Era. And I want to hone in on this word communication because even though it's always been important for humankind, as we embark on this new era of AI, I think it really rises to the importance of all human skills to have going forward. So if you can please share with the audience a story or example that you have, and I'd like to build upon that as well.
I recently watched a video by Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, in which he was talking about this notion that we're no longer going to need computer programmers because everyone is going to be able to be a computer programmer. And what he meant by that is we're not going to need people having the technical skills of coding. What we're going to need are the verbal and written communication skills to be able to tell these AI machines what it is that we want. And I'm not here to debate whether that's right or wrong. We've been through this in a previous episode talking about this AI paradox, that AI is the disruptive force. It is going to lead to job loss in certain sectors, but ultimately it's the same AI that's going to lead to job creation by training people new skills. And so the notion is by becoming the best possible communicator that you can be, that is what's going to lead you to having a job, remaining employable in this new AI economy. And I think for you, Antonio, you wanted to share a personal anecdote of a challenge you had recently regarding communication, specifically a longer format project, I believe.
Yes, that's true. And it's really about extemporaneous speaking. So this notion of speaking off the cuff, preparing sort of an unprepared speech. In essence, you're thrust into the fire, you're thrust on stage, and you have to deliver a message at length. And that is a specific skill set that you really only develop over time. If you look at hot speakers now like Gary Vaynerchuk is a very effective speaker because he's speaking so often, whether it's a paid speaking gig on his podcast or just going live streaming on Twitch, whatever. By practicing speaking at length on a particular topic, you're able to more effectively communicate an idea. So as we talked about in the last episode of a podcast as a platform, fortunately, this podcast has served us very well to create employment opportunities, particularly in the content creation space. I was approached by a YouTube channel who asked me to do a long form video. And I thought, hey, I'm a content creator. I'm a certified content creator from Nas Academy. I've been doing short form video for well over a year. I've done tons of UGC videos with numerous brands. I was like, that's so easy. However, in my preparation for the video, in which I had to prepare several speaking points, it wasn't necessarily the same type of script I would prepare for a short form video, but I did have my speaking points. But speaking at length for a long form video is a significant challenge. And even though I got the job done, it was my first rodeo. It was my first time doing this experience. And as a result, I took away a lot of lessons from that particular task, which is number one, practice makes perfect. But again, this notion of speaking at length, communicating your ideas orally is a skill set that's going to be in great demand. Going back to your example with NVIDIA, these individuals who are no longer going to have to do the coding themselves, but they'll be speaking to the AI and telling it exactly what they want it to do is a long form, extemporaneous style of speech that will benefit anybody looking to enhance their communication skills.
I'm so glad you brought up this challenge of speaking extemporaneously. And in fact, this is a skill like anything else. You said practice makes perfect. And it's the preparation that allows you to have better practice. By preparing those speaking notes, it allows you to practice, and practicing multiple times the content that you want to speak to is going to allow you to feel more confident. And I've been raving about this speaking group I'm a part of as a communication coach. I believe very much in coaching, receiving coaching, so that I can bring my best to my clients. And what we're doing is a 30-day challenge where we're learning how to be the best possible extemporaneous speakers by responding to prompts, right? This impromptu extemporaneous speaking where you're not prepared. And this is exactly it. And I sort of liken it maybe perhaps to a presidential debate. It's not that you're completely unprepared and that you have things in your mind, but it's through this practice of being comfortable being asked questions that you're going to have to answer that you develop certain skills. And there's just a couple of frameworks I want to just highlight for people listening if you haven't heard this before. One of the frameworks that can be very helpful in helping you become a better extemporaneous speaker is a framework called point, reason, point. You make your point of what you want to say, get into the whys, if you will, 1, 2, or 3 reasons, or as many reasons, and then you summarize your point by concluding with that summary. So that can be very helpful in being able to answer a question that's extemporaneous in nature. The other framework that I would offer is point, story, point. Similar, you make your point, but instead of just giving reasons, you're going to tell a story that's going to illustrate through detail, through whatever that is happening in the story to teach your point. And so that's another thing that we're doing. So I'm on this 30-day challenge. Today was day 8, and it's not easy to record yourself. And that's just the other additional element that is challenging. It's one thing to speak extemporaneous with your friends, somebody you're speaking to like I'm speaking to you now. It's a completely different animal when you're speaking to a camera that is an artificial device. And so I think it's very, very important, the notion of practice.
Talking about challenges, you and I are also doing another challenge, a daily video challenge, where we're preparing a video on a particular topic every day for the month of March. Today is day 8. And the reason I mention this particular challenge, and I recommend anybody that's looking to increase their abilities in any skill. I saw a recent tweet by a creator, Nidhi Saran, on Twitter, talk about this notion of just by increasing your output of content, you're going to generate opportunities for yourself. And I can't say the importance of that enough. But with this particular challenge, I've decided to explore artificial intelligence as the topic. Each of the videos to date have touched upon different elements of artificial intelligence. And so what's great about this challenge is that I get to practice my communication, whether it's written communication by drafting the script, heavily leaning on AI, utilizing the new version of Claude, for example, utilizing Gemini. ChatGPT in many ways is sort of taking a back seat, and this is a recent development. We've been talking about ChatGPT significantly on this particular show, but these new tools are coming out of the woodwork at such a rapid pace. It's amazing. But getting back to the challenge for a moment, this notion of communication, writing the script, and then getting on camera every day, trying to enhance your oral communication, being able to communicate in the most effective manner is an amazing skill. And then also focusing in on a particular topic like artificial intelligence. In episode 5, we talked about this notion of, will AI steal your job? And I would say the early level of investigation I had done to that point signaled, looking at McKinsey most recently, for example, that even though AI will impact most jobs, it was this notion of like, well, yeah, maybe it's only going to impact 10% of jobs, or maybe it's only going to impact a portion of your job. However, I recently did a video on this company called Klarna, a European company. It's a buy now, pay later company. They laid off a number of people in May of 2022, and it was not related to artificial intelligence. It was about profitability, et cetera, but they clearly said it was not artificial intelligence related. However, they've signed up to be the guinea pig of OpenAI. They've partnered with Sam Altman's organization, OpenAI, to leverage their artificial intelligence chatbot capabilities to outsource, in essence, their customer service work that they do. And right now, they've been able to outsource or provide up to the equivalent of 700 customer service reps, meaning 2/3 of the people they would normally would have had to pay by utilizing these chatbots. And what's interesting to note about this is that the chatbots, not only are they doing the work that humans used to do, they are able to do it just as effectively. And in fact, in a couple of instances, even better, meaning the time to resolve a customer's issue, I believe, was 5 times faster. And also this notion of, by providing such succinct answers to the customers, that customer didn't have to call back on a 25% less basis because the answer was very clear. And so by utilizing this chatbot, this company is already saving $40 million in profit. This company is generating $40 million in profit because of AI. Now, they do still utilize humans to resolve complex cases where AI is just, it's beyond its capability. But if we think about it for the moment, if this company, Klarna, is already utilizing AI for customer service in 2024, where are we going to be in 5 years, in 10 years, et cetera? So this notion is artificial intelligence may not steal your job, but as you like to say, the writing's on the wall. And one of the key benefits to combat that is communication, focusing on the human skills that the AI technology simply cannot do.
Great point, and I just wanted to share a follow-up piece to that. On LinkedIn, I follow a creatorpreneur, Dan Sanchez, and he posted this really interesting infographic where it shows the number of jobs and how they've been affected since ChatGPT was introduced. And what you see in the numbers, it really stands to make sense. The jobs that required writing, customer service, to your earlier point, and translation have all decreased significantly. We're talking in the neighborhood of 20% or more. However, conversely, and something that people may not expect, is that things like video editing and production, because people are starting to become content creators, creatorpreneurs, graphic design, web design, accounting, sales have all increased. So this really gives me a lot of hope, I think, because people are starting to realize, yes, maybe some of those jobs that we were doing once are going to be eliminated, but now I'm going to be trained to do other jobs. And I think it's all about perspective. I think it's very easy to have a very negative response to AI, especially when you see Sora creating these incredible high-definition animated videos from a prompt input. But the reality is, again, the AI paradox. The AI tools are going to teach us how to do new jobs. And so this is a time, don't just wait for your job to be taken. Learn AI tools, but even above and beyond that, learn how to become the most effective communicator, not just in spoken communication, but in written communication as well.
Which translates perfectly to video content creation. You mentioned Sora. The video I'm preparing today is about this company called Hyper.ai. This is sort of a smaller competitor to Sora, but they've already made their software publicly available. So in the case of Sora, it's a closed beta version only to select developers that are able to get their hands on it. Hyper.ai, you're able to go in and play with the demo and generate up to 4-second long SD, standard definition videos, or 2-second high definition videos. So while I do believe that the video content creation being put out by AI is a threat to video content creators, the fact of the matter is there's this notion of an uncanny valley. And this uncanny valley concept is when humans are able to detect the artificial aspect of these incredible videos that Sora is putting out. For example, this company Hyper.ai, the human eye is able to distinguish these differences and how an artificial intelligence depicts a human being. What that means to say is it's not perfect yet. It's going to threaten video content creation, but I do want to share a story about this woman. Her name is Marta Puerto, a woman from Madrid, 29 years old. She was recently let go by her organization, not for performance, but just, I guess, as a result of job cuts. She was applying diligently and just playing the numbers game. And you know how it is when you're just applying to jobs on LinkedIn or other job boards, etc. It's like hitting the lottery. Not even to get a job, just to get an interview, to get some kind of progress, get an email response saying you were not selected. It can be very disheartening. So this woman who is a product manager, but wasn't necessarily a big-time content creator, video content creator that is, she decided to put together this video about 2 minutes long that explained who Marta is, an incredible production, and as a result of her creating a website, publishing this video, which went viral on LinkedIn and went viral on Twitter, she's already received 300 job offers. And it, again, goes back to this notion of being an effective communicator. She clearly put together a script to organize her thoughts on what you were going to see in the video. And the way she executed the video was fantastic. I don't want to give the spoiler away because I recommend anybody who's watching this episode today, if you look at the video, you'll be pleasantly surprised. But again, video content creation, it's here to stay. And it's not just for content creators. there's a huge push for professionals to stay focused on video content creation, and this is a prime example of video content creation and communication.
And we'll be sure to link her video in the show notes. And I want to share a story about a client I'm working with. Because of the podcast we're producing, she reached out, wanted to do her own video podcast, interview style online with Riverside FM. And what's great is that she's interviewing guests and she's super extroverted, so she's a great communicator, no doubt. But she asked me, Rico, how can I do hot takes where I just am speaking off the cuff about the issues that matter to me, not just what my guests are bringing as their answers, but how can I become a subject matter expert in my space, speaking extemporaneously? And I said, practice. Practice makes perfect. And it's not easy, as I mentioned earlier, just a moment ago. Speaking to a camera, it can be difficult. So you might want to just practice actually having somebody stand behind the camera at first, and then eventually wean yourself off of that. I've heard people even mention things like getting the little googly eyes to put onto the camera to make it look like you're actually looking at somebody, or even having a magazine picture of anybody just so you're actually looking at a person versus looking at a lens. So it doesn't really matter, but the idea, again, is you need to start putting out video content. That is just the wave of the future. And especially in this economy, getting to the story of Marta Puerto, is everybody's looking for jobs. How do you stand out in the marketplace? In speaking to one of my other clients who's an IT recruitment manager, she said the number one tool is LinkedIn. That's where they're going to find their candidates. So how do you stand out? By producing video content. Again, let people know who you are. Your personal brand is being built, whether you realize it or not. Why not get out in front of it and craft your personal brand by creating really sleek and nice produced video content where you're communicating well in your videos?
And for those maybe that are fearing being on camera, etc., I would say on a LinkedIn front, at least create written, visually appealing content you can generate in Canva. I think it's very important that you're putting your voice out there because, again, LinkedIn continues to be an incredible tool to reach out to potential clients, to be attracting the kind of employers or opportunities you're looking for. I was just yesterday, in fact, contacted on LinkedIn about another opportunity as a direct result of publishing this podcast video format style that, for whatever reason, it really resonates with people. They just really like this notion of being on camera, seeing you with the microphone in your face. You can certainly use all kinds of articles in your house. I've seen people using a spoon and so forth just to kind of be a little bit different. But the microphone, for whatever reason, it puts you sort of in this expert position. And I think that's a really powerful thing. But to your point, communication is fundamental. And also putting yourself in a studio like this, it really creates almost like a public speaking forum that you're not going to get practicing in front of the mirror at home or practicing with your friend in the car right over. No, you really have to continue to practice to get better.
It's interesting. They say that public speaking is some of the biggest fears that people have, more than death. I don't know if that's true. I think it's just because people don't really practice regularly public speaking. For whatever reason. You might be introverted, you might not just enjoy it, but the reality is that anything you do over time, you get better at it. And I think the advantage today is with smartphones, you're able to record yourself. And that's what I have my clients do. I have them record themselves because, yes, I can give them feedback of things that I think they should work on. But ultimately, when you look at yourself and you go to the tape, it's an incredible experience to see not just the things you don't like, but the things that you do like. Another quick little story. One of my clients played soccer in college, and we were talking about the concept of going to the film room to review the week's game. And I said, how did you like that? He said, I hated it, in jest. I mean, he didn't like having to be told what he wasn't doing well, but he saw the benefit of what he needed to work on and was able to correct that for the next week's match. And similarly, with your communication, by using your phone, recording yourself every day. It doesn't have to be a 30-day challenge, but like anything, the more you do it, the better you get. So I would highly encourage anybody who's looking to become a better speaker, all you have to do is record yourself. And you can simply go to a website like Random Question Generator or randomwordgenerator.com. They've got all sorts of prompts, motivational quotes, questions that you can respond to to, again, have something to speak to, and over time you grow as a communicator.
And I think one tip you share with your clients is really this notion of focusing on one thing. So for example, with me watching this video podcast, watching the hot takes, when we actually come in, going to the tape, as you would say, when we're actually editing the video, you notice these flubs. You notice these ahs, these ums, these words that you tend to say too much, in my case, literally, as my sister pointed out, etc. But what would you suggest to people that are trying to improve their communication, as you've already mentioned, practicing on camera, etc.? But what is another step they can do to really start honing in on an area they need to improve upon?
Well, I think the challenge is when you're trying to teach yourself anything, it is more challenging if you're not an expert in it. And so you can certainly look at YouTube for communication coaches giving out tips. You can look on LinkedIn for tips. But I would invest in, at the very least, software that's going to allow you to transcribe your audio or your video, to not only listen to yourself or watch yourself as a communicator, but to read what you're saying, because that can also really highlight the things that you want to avoid. Whether it's filler words, the ums, ahs, you knows, sentence starters. Instead of starting a sentence with and or so, or the dreaded and so, you need to be made aware of that, right? Awareness plus action gets you results. And I've spoken about this previously on this show. Yoodli is an AI-powered speech coach that allows you to record videos and upload them, or record them directly on the platform and get those insights to really understand, again, what am I doing well? What am I not doing well? But piece by piece, you're building skill upon skill. First, you're eliminating filler words. Maybe then you're eliminating those sentence starters or weak words. Then you can start working on things like your structure, then your content, then your delivery. But it's a journey. And much like fitness, it is a journey. Just because you get fit doesn't mean you can stop going to the gym. The communication journey is something you start and you continuously work at day after day to become the best speaker you can be.
I think tying back this communication to what a creatorpreneur does is important. And one aspect I'd like to touch upon is this notion of engagement. Now, engagement is sort of one social media metric that we can use to analyze and measure the effectiveness of a particular post or a video, the number of views, number of likes, etc. But engagement is really important. And I oftentimes see people do it incorrectly, right? It's not just about what they say. It's about how they say it, or about the things they don't do to sort of warm you up. In my case, I was recently approached by an individual who offered some kind of coaching services, and he jumped into my DMs and he asked me, what are some of my very deep and personal goals? And I'm thinking, well, who are you? I have no idea who you are. So again, here's an individual reaching out to me, communicating to me, yet I felt like his approach was just incorrect. It rubbed me the wrong way. And so I'm curious if you have any thoughts on that as another way to improve your communication, because engagement, yes, it is important, but if you do it correctly, right? So I'd love to get your thoughts on that.
I think the key word here is nuance. Just because you're an effective communicator and being able to help somebody understand what their issues are, what their obstacles are, helping them out by asking them powerful questions, I would say in this particular instance, if this individual had maybe liked some of your content or asked you your thoughts on certain pieces, or had even asked you a question directly in the comments, I think that could have curried a lot of favor with you to demonstrate that, hey, I'm here to really not only help you, but maybe even learn from you. So I think it's about the way that you frame the questions that you ask people that can be a lot more effective. And if anything, you're the king of engagement. I know you like to joust a little bit on Twitter, X, in the comments, or on Instagram. What have you found to be effective ways to do proper engagement in your eyes?
Well, I think it's really important to just recognize that we're all people, right? And so when you see a message from somebody, in fact, I follow this creator, Rico, who's a very, very successful digital strategist, content strategist on TikTok and Instagram. And I shared one of his stories, and he sent me a thank you message via my DM. And I responded to him. I said, wow, your engagement game's on point too. And he responded, thanks. So it just goes to show you that even if you're a big creator, you're a famous creator, you've done very well for yourself, it doesn't excuse you from just good behaviors, right? So it goes above and beyond communication. It's just this notion of treating others with respect. And the fact is, no one's too big to not respond. right? And so I think that's really the most important point here. So shout out to you, Rico Incarnati. I really appreciated that. And so I try to do that as well. So if you are a new creator, you need to be responding to the comments. If someone's taking out time to like and comment on your particular post or video, I'm guilty of it. I think as we all are, to not always timely do it, but I make a concerted effort to make sure that I'm at least commenting back, thanking the person, or potentially, as you say, verbally jousting if it is a different kind of opinion, etc. Not getting bogged down, of course, in the negative comments. But it's important because it's all part of this communication package that you put together.
I think you touched on a very important piece, and that is engaging with the creators that you enjoy. I think creators want that engagement. And in fact, I think some creators don't know how to get that engagement, and they're actually looking for ways. Just to speak about this group I've been a part of, Yasser Khan Speaking Academy, I've been so impressed at how willing he is to admit what he doesn't know. He's very vulnerable in saying, hey, I don't know how to build the best community. But I shared with him that in previous programs I've participated in, there was sort of this expectation by the participants to build their own relationships with the members within the organization. And I shared this with him, and he really took it to heart and said, hey, well, Rico, what are you looking to get out of this organization? What do you want? And again, as a world-class speaking coach, as a world-class communicator, he saw that he doesn't have all the answers and is asking and soliciting for feedback, for insight. He said, I'm itching for feedback like this. And as a result, in our weekly call just today, he was sharing that he just really wants to give as much value as he can. And I think he realizes that people are going to want to connect more deeply if he's willing to connect with people. So I think there's a million ways you can go about it. I think what's really key, though, is that you are just asking, how can I engage with you, be responsive, and be willing to share things about your own life.
I did want to share another story about engagement. In fact, one of the trainers at the Nas Academy, I follow him on LinkedIn, and he shared a recent post about this engagement he received on LinkedIn about being pitched with a video. And he was actually very pleasantly surprised that someone had approached him with some video-based content. So that's a tip to people out there that if you're looking to reach out to people, potentially to pitch them with an idea, to sell them something, go ahead and offer immediate value by preparing a video in advance, analyzing their company, providing a unique perspective, et cetera, something for them to consider, et cetera. However, the person that received this message was very appreciative that they got the video and provided some feedback and saying, hey, this is very valuable, but have you thought about X, Y, or Z? And the person that had sent him the video was like taken aback and offended and wrote some very negative comments and then ultimately blocked him. So again, another example of engagement gone wrong. But the key here is, look, it's great to use video engagement, but you got to keep things positive, right? People want to be respected. And again, it's about, leading with value, leading with content, leading with video content is even better. But keep it professional, and people will respond to you.
It sounds like it was a masterclass in what not to do. And again, this show's all about communication and building communication skills. And it's not just about communicating effectively in terms of what you're saying, but also, of course, how you're saying it. You never want to burn any bridges. And I saw a contact of mine on LinkedIn talking about somebody reaching out with cold DMs. And it's just, I think in today's age, to your point, reach out with a video that's personalized, not just, hey, you, I saw that you do XYZ, but like, hey, Antonio, I see you're a creatorpreneur, a content creator. I would love to engage with you on XYZ. That is just so much more appealing and less off-putting than just some generic cold DM, people looking to sell something to you. They haven't followed you, they haven't liked any of your content, they haven't even personalized their message to you. That to me is just very off-putting for sure.
Right, I think it's about commenting in people's posts, engaging with them on a frequent basis. You cannot go in for the kill immediately. You cannot go for the jugular on your very first interaction. I see that so often, whether it's Twitter, LinkedIn, more and more so on Instagram, which again is why I'm such a proponent of doing this video-based podcast, is because by putting out these hot takes, sharing them across the platforms, it continues to just bring in these opportunities, like almost reining in opportunities. And I think it's just such an important value that new creators can try to do as well. You don't have to be in a studio per se, but by sharing the videos and posting them on a consistent basis. And I haven't always been consistent. In the past, I would try to do 3 videos a week. But now that I'm doing 1 video a day, today is day 8. It's been my most prolific amount of content production I've ever done in my life. I look back on my journey And I oftentimes ask myself, like, why was I not producing more content? And so the thing is, you have to really challenge yourself and just give it your best effort. Put it out there, and you're going to be pleasantly surprised and rewarded for your efforts.
I think that that's just, you really hit the nail on the head. You have to be willing to fail and fail fast. You're going to learn, but you're not going to learn if you're not making mistakes. If you're not making mistakes, you don't know what to improve on. You don't know how to get better, and just get started. And I just want to do a little call to action here. If you are looking to create your own podcast, video podcast specifically, we would love to interact with you. And in fact, you don't even need to create a video podcast if you just want to have these hot takes by setting up an iPhone and just either speaking to it directly or speaking off camera, like away from the camera. That can also be a compelling message. And if you don't know where to start, just start speaking while you're recorded. And I wanted to share 2 tips from today's session that I thought were really, really helpful. The first one is, many times when you're speaking to the camera, you feel like you're going to then hit record and then you feel like you have to perform. And that will automatically make you sound so much more stiff. And this is a tip coming from Yasser Khan directly. He said what he does is he hits record and doesn't stop recording until he's done. But before he actually starts speaking about what he actually wants to speak about, he just starts talking about his day. So it's like, yeah, so today I got up, had my coffee as normal. I had eggs and toast for breakfast. And in today's video, I'm going to talk about XYZ. So the idea is you've already sort of warmed up in a way that allows you to just come across as more naturally. And then I mentioned it earlier, just looking at the camera in a way that you're not actually feeling like you're speaking to the camera, but you're speaking to a friend can be a big major tip to help you be more effective. But I think at the end of the day, creating video content is just so key.
Again, going back to this notion of challenging yourself, a call to action to our viewers and those tuning into our podcast. You don't have to do a daily video per se, but just step outside of your comfort zone, turn the camera on, create a close friends group on Instagram, just start talking, just start sharing, and you'll see that over time, this does get so much easier. I now have such a deep respect for people like Joe Rogan and other podcast hosts who they literally go into the office and they just do their thing, and it's so normal for them. They're no longer intimidated by the lights, the camera, just this notion of you're on stage, you're performing. No, it's just you're coming in, you're having a conversation, either with the co-host, potential guests, etc., and it just gets so much easier. And then you're able to communicate your ideas and your thoughts, and there's so much value. Because I do want to talk about this, tying it back to artificial intelligence and kind of looking ahead for our show. Artificial intelligence, it's not going anywhere. If anything, as we've seen in this example by Klarna, AI is coming for your lunch money, if not more. So all that you can really do is distinguish yourself by utilizing these human-based skills of communication, leadership, and having this desire to do continuous learning. Not only learning about your profession, but learn about artificial intelligence. I can say that in these 8 days of researching these different articles, setting up Google Alerts to get articles sent to me on artificial intelligence, looking at artificial intelligence as a topic in Spotify, in podcasts, was actually how I came across this idea about Klarna and doing the work they're doing with OpenAI. So just have an open mind, continue to study and learn, and you'll be well poised for the future in the world of AI.
And the paradox is such that, again, this tool that's going to maybe take your lunch money, as you said, or take your job, is going to be the same technology that you're going to use to learn new skills. So you can leverage AI right now to learn about AI. I don't know if I've ever said anything like that in the past, where something that's going to do you harm is also going to do you well. Did I say that correctly? I don't know what the fear is, but I do think it's just about getting started, being experimental, but also working on your communication skills. This has been the underlying theme of today's show, and going forward, it's only going to help you with your interactions with generative AI.
I think this is a good place to probably wrap up the show. I do think, again, that generative AI is the skill to master in 2024. Although there are many, many paid tools like ChatGPT, like Gemini, like Claude, like Perplexity, and others. Sora is coming out very soon. You can look at Hyper.ai, which is a free tool Get your hands wet. Learn this. This takes time. You cannot do it overnight. And you're going to be pleasantly surprised that the rewards for those that are buckled down and learn these skills, they're going to be compensated very well down the road.
The last thing I'll end with is that, this is now our 7th episode. We really want to start interviewing guests. So again, dear audience, member, viewer, listener, if you have suggestions for us of people we should be interviewing or bringing on to the show, by all means, please let us know. We will gladly reach out. If you're like, hey, Antonio and Rico, we would love to see X, Y, or Z guests on your show. It makes it easier when you have a show to reach out to guests. So again, another reason to start a video podcast. But a great show, Antonio, today. It's all about communication, your evolution as a communicator so that you can thrive in the AI economy.
Great show, Rico. Looking forward to the next here at All Dress Play, the Creatorpreneurs podcast. Hope you enjoyed today's show.
Until next time.